And yeah, obviously they're going to ban the Catherine, even though she got nerfed slightly. Teams still just don't want to try and face that double silence. And Kestrel first pick, that's quite smart because obviously it's a comfort pick, and Kestrel as weapon power especially is extremely strong this patch with the nerfs to healing.
Well, definitely, that is something that must agree with you. A lot of healers are not prioritized for 2.8 at least, and in fact, although there are changes made to potions and now replaced with the healing flask, you would think that healing becomes a priority in that early game, but I don't see quite a lot of Lyras or Graces being picked up. But for the side of Divas, we will be seeing the Black Feather going up against this Kestrel. I personally think Kestrel has got very good early game siege, especially if you're going for that weapon path and you're a great lane bully.
Yeah, I think the Black Feather is a smart pick, and I think that there has been quite a big change to potions because they've just been removed from the game. And a Sky ban, that was not expected at all. Sky, I suppose that could be Weapon Sky that they don't want to be played because CP Sky is reasonably good, but doesn't seem to be worthy of banning at all. Now, Question Jewel is interested in that ban he really likes Sky, and I think Black Feather's a really smart pick because Black Feather's often second banned, especially if you want to pick someone like Celeste. We know Kestrel Celeste as a combo is extremely strong, and I think they don't want to pick Celeste themselves, Divine Aurora, so they pick the Black Feather straight away to try and counter it. A good ban here, they could try and get rid of the captains. Catherine's off the fold, but I think it's smart for A-side here to not ban Catherine or Lance. Sorry, not ban Grace or Lance, and then they're guaranteed to get one. And so now it's which hero do they not want to play against? And it's really quite hard because there aren't that many. Maybe a CP Idris could be banned away because you don't want to go double CP with a CP Kestrel, but they're going to get rid of Celeste themselves. With Black Feather means they don't want to play it, so it's smart to ban it away.
Yep, I mean, Celeste, or rather the mages at this point in time, generally will be placed in that of lane. Really good poke in that early game, and when it comes late game, you have very good siege as well. So banning out Celeste and maybe picking up a Scar for yourself, probably pairing it up with a Grace for the heal, if not then Lance for those CCs, will definitely be beneficial to your team. We see a Lyra being picked up for the side of Divas. At this point in time, Lyra is still, very good because of the early game sustain that she provides, but in that late game, especially if there are no divers coming out from Impunity, then Lyra will almost be just stagnated, useless in terms of team fights. Granted, your Bright Bow will provide a lot of utilities coming into the late game, but all in all, I personally think at this point in time, I really favor Team Com coming, or rather the draft coming out from the side of Impunity. I'm not surprised at this point in time if they will go up for that Scarf, and they do pick up that Scarf.
Yeah, it's a good draft from Impunity. They've let through double heal. They could go Adagio or Grace now, and then that would be a very interesting composition to try and play against, even though the healers aren't quite as good. I still agree with you. I think Lance is really strong, despite Lyra's Bulwark kind of countering him, the Impale, and the double Githian wall to stop Black Feather from diving in will just be so much CC that you force Black Feather to use those ult charges very defensively just to dodge what Lance is bringing out. A Samuel pick, that's not a fantastic counter because he is quite good early game. Samuel can try and pressure into this jungle Scarf, but once it gets towards late game, you've got Black Feather diving in, and then you've got double poke from Kestrel and Scarf, whereas only single poke from Samuel. So I think it's going to be likely Kestrel will be able to stay alive, and if Kestrel's allowed to farm up even a little bit, once you get 3 damage items, you can just start destroying through objectives, and with a Scarf, I'd expect to see a very quick Kraken at 15 minutes if it's allowed.
Yeah, on top of that as well, there is one thing that I must point out, in which I actually talked to you about yesterday. It's the objective control coming into patch 2.8 itself. Although the first turret, that the price or the gold bounty the first turret provides, it's dropped by 100 gold and only gives 200 gold now. But taking that away from the map or from your enemy allows you greater control of that of jungle. And that way, with the objectives shifting, the objective game shifting into the jungle itself, it will be a very good pickup. And the draft coming out from the side of Impunity is just that. They have got such good sieging potential in that early game with that weapon cast. And of course that of Scarf, and on top of that as well, the gang potential that Lance provide with those impales, and if he does lands them, it's just game changing into the late game.
Yeah, I definitely think that the Lance and Pales will be pretty good. And talking about that first turret, obviously the hit points got reduced from 3,000 down to 2,000. So that's why the gold was also reduced. And it does make it a lot easier if you're not focusing on the lane and you go down for a 3v2 in jungle. Someone like Weapon Kestrel unleashes two glimmer shots of two arrows of glimmer shots into the turret, and it's basically dead already. So you need to be really careful of someone pushing your turret when you're not in lane, because it's really quite easy to take that first objective. And even though it's only 200 gold, it is an awful lot of map pressure that you can put down. You basically push your vision line forwards to basically the enemy tri-bush, and that makes it so hard for them to try and farm up successfully. Whenever they try and take their mid healing camp, it can just be stolen away. And if they face check a bush, you could start the snowball just from there. Easy crystal sentry charges, possibly an easy gold mine as well.
Yep. Just quickly talking about the Samuel pickup from the side of Divine Aurora, I must say it is definitely a comfort pickup for Spitfire 101 at least. We've seen him play a lot of Samuel, and of course the mages itself. So the Celeste ban, it could be a targeted ban. If not, then Impunity really just want to remove another mage from the fold. But Samuel, like you mentioned earlier on, it's that he just do not have the poke to outpoke that of Scarf, at least in that late game, when Scarf has got a Goop and Spitfire combination, can just slowly burn your entire team down. And the zoning potential coming from double poke comms in this particular patch is just so insane. And you talked about double Gideon Wall, and we've seen a lot of Lancers actually picking up that echo for themselves, just for the double Gideon Wall, if not the double Impale if they need to. So Black Feather will have a tough time going in. Granted, the side of D.Va, they have got a D.Va for themselves, and that would be in terms of that Lyra being able to Arcane Passage in, and Bright Bulwark hopefully being able to, just trap out that of Scarf, if not then of Castrol. But being a weapon Castrol, you can really just active camo any single time you just feel threatened. And in that way, Divine Aurora would have a very difficult time trying to reach into the back lines with such a tough wall like that of Lance.
Yeah, I definitely think that Lance was a really good pick against Blackfeather, and it's quite a smart draft in general to ban away one of the mages so that you can pick the other, because Scarf and Celeste are really the only two late game mages in the fold. Obviously, CP Idris is an extremely strong hero, but he's much more mobile than a mage and doesn't really count. And Samuel is a bit too early game to be considered as a real mage, as a powerhouse in the late game. So I think it's really going to be Impunity are going to try and push this game as late as possible, maybe definitely past 15 minutes. And I think Divine Aurora are going to have to either start Snowball early, or once it gets to late game, they're going to have to, as you said, Arcane passes onto the backline, and Blackfeather's going to have to execute someone very quickly. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of ramping damage, and there's already going to be a lot of burst straight from Kestrel.
Yep, and there is one thing I must point out as well. Impunity has came up with this particular rotation where they will move in a party of 3 into that of lane, try to push out lane as far as possible, then go into the enemy's jungle, take out the objectives, if not then a sentry, if not then a mid-treant. So that way, I'm looking forward as to whether or not Impunity will bring that rotation out in this particular game itself. But they have quite a bit of success with that rotation. And the team comp coming out from the side of D.Vas, the only way to actually counter the rotation coming out from Impunity is just to hyper push that of lane. But the team comp coming out from D.Vas just do not allow them to do that because they do not have that siege potential as compared to that of Impunity. So honestly, thinking about all in all, I must say that Impunity's draft just came up on top over that of D.Vas, but it is just down to D.Vas at this point in time just picking out comfort picks for themselves. So it's whether or not you can win in draft. If not, then your comfort picks will come triumphant coming into this particular game. But Minimizer, for yourself, you said that you really like the draft coming out from Impunity. So what do you think are the stakes at this point in time as to how D.Vas can play just so to counter that of Impunity?
Well, obviously, Blackfeather needs to just jump on Kestrel, buy a reflex block so that you can block the active camo stun without having to use a ultimate charge, a Rose Offensive. And once Blackfeather does that, Kestrel will be in a bad position. If you can dodge a couple of glimmer shots with fancy footwork or maybe with an ult charge, then that makes it really easy to deal loads of damage on Kestrel. And also, you need to kill her before she gets 3 or 4 damage items, because once Kestrel's at that point, you'll take 400 crit before you can even land an on point to get a barrier, get a little bit of poke back. And I think if Divine Aurora allow themselves to be poked at all, then they're going to start losing these fights. So they have to dive in pretty much as quickly as possible. And Lyra late game with an overdriven Arcane Passage can do that quite successfully.
Yep, so that is back to your initial point as to whether or not divas can snowball in that early game. Problem with the team comp at this point in time is that they do not quite have that snowballing potential. I mean, granted, you have that Samuel for the early game, and if Samuel constantly goes up to lane to try to gank that of Castrol, if not, then just you put a lot of pressure onto Scarf in jungle and of course Lance as well, then they will definitely have the upper hand. But all in all, I must say Impunity just have got the more robust, more balanced team comp throughout. Early game they have got a Castro. On top of that, they have that Scarf and Lance as well to apply that pressure in that of lane, which is coming off importance in this particular patch itself. And also Divine Aurora has got so much more what do you call that? Walls in front of them for them to actually try to even win this game. Firstly, is that Impunity in terms of mechanics, in terms of macros and the micros, Impunity definitely stands out on top. And on top of that as well, draft is another thing that win Impunity for me in this particular game.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see how Divine Aurora are going to try and push this early game. They've got a Samuel. I expect level 1 rotation will be quite defensive, possibly from both teams. Impunity might go straight for the Elder Treant with that Kestrel, can really do a lot of damage to it and probably secure it. Whereas Samuel's just going to start at his back, try and get level 2, and then maybe get a push into the enemy jungle, see if he can steal away some jungle, get the first blood. And it's going to be tough for Divine Aurora to do that, but if they do it successfully, it'll be a reasonably easy game because Samuel, once he gets ahead, is so hard to play against. You just cannot fight whenever his Drifting Dark is up, and after it's up, you just feel like you're already dead because he's poked you down to being forced to port home, as they haven't got any healers, and Samuel will constantly be being healed by Lyra while he's poking you.
Yep, definitely. So that is one thing, the draft, it's kind of set already that the players cannot quite change their decisions at this point in time. So, Mini, let us talk about the heroes, the relevant heroes in that of 2.8. We've seen a lot of talk on that of the CP Idris. What do you personally think of this particular, build of Idris?
I'm very surprised that he's not being played more because I think CP Idris is extremely strong. He's one of the strongest heroes in this patch that I feel. And it's just because it's okay if you can snowball him early on, but generally that's hard to do because as soon as he gets 100 crystal power, his divergent path is unlocked and he becomes a Vox range essentially, and he can farm pretty safely, and he can also push the wave really quickly once he gets a first item, a Frostburn, generally maybe a Shatterglass, and then you're unable to push the lane against him. And he'll just farm up. And once if CP just gets 4 damage items, he becomes almost unstoppable because he has the mobility of someone like Sky, where having the damage of Scarf from range. So I think it's really, really a good pick, but teams maybe aren't comfortable on him, or maybe think that he's reasonably easily countered. And obviously, if you snowball him early game, CP is pretty useless, and the Kestrel can actually do that really well.
Yep, definitely. I must agree with you on that. And another hero that has been in talks as well would be that of Finn, the empowered, or rather not empowered, but the buff on the fortified health. How do you think would affect the matter? Because at this point in time, in this particular draft itself, we don't see a lot of Finn because there is a Lance picked up for the side of Impunity, and of course Lyra being prioritized. So where do you think Finn fits in this matter?
I think given the fact that we had 3 carry bans in this draft, we had only 1 captain ban. That means that Finn was not really an option for the teams because there were so much better captains. They still let Grace through the entire draft, and Grace is generally seen as better than Finn. Whereas in drafts where a couple of captains are banned away straight away, then one team picks up a carry and then another captain's banned, there's a real chance that Finn will be played as a lower tier captain, but still as quite a strong pick. So I think Finn we'll see play, but only when the draft has got rid of most of the other captains. I think he's not that easy to play well, because if you're up against someone like a Celeste, a Vox, a Scarf, you're just 3 stacks for Breaking Point or Broken Myth, and it's really hard to play that effectively in a because pools are always going to be blocked at a competitive level. You don't expect a captain to miss a Crucible on a Finn Forster Accord unless, of course, they are silenced or item silenced. Their Crucible is on cooldown.
Yep, and Reza is another, interesting hero to talk about. I mean, I've been talking to my friends and people who play Vainglory about Reza, and they just personally do not think that the damage that Reza can output justify his squishiness. I mean, there are better assassins out there like that of Idris. Even, Taka Koshka is just so much of a better assassin. But, as an analyst, what do you personally think about Reza? And what do you think can be changed on Reza to make him viable or even relevant in any patches to come?
Yeah, I think interesting is one way to put Reza at the moment. He seems to have the damage of Taka in the early game and the damage of Koshka in the late game. And so you seem to be stupid to pick him over one of those other assassins. His early game jungle clear is ridiculously slow. That's the main problem, I think, is Firestarter. Scorcher needs to travel through jungle minions, and then he'll be able to clear his backs really quickly and be able to start being aggressive in the jungle, because he has such a slow clear. It's similar to Fortress in terms of how slowly he clears jungle, without obviously using his dash ability to go through minions. And I think that will really help Reza come through the fold. If that Scorcher goes through jungle minions, it will increase his jungle clear speed. Then you can get farm quicker, you can get to late game. And once Reza's got a couple of damage items, he's actually really does a lot of damage when he gets his Netherform Detonator off. Yeah. Because you've seen in a Battle Royale, in a Blitz, where people are forced to play Reza, that once they get a couple of items, and obviously you don't get snowballed in a Battle Royale, so he can actually do tons of damage and you feel like he's too strong. But the real problem with Reza is that he can just be outplayed by not fighting when he's in his empowered form. Yeah. If he uses his ultimate, it's obvious where he's there. And obviously they're going to ban the Catherine. Even though she got nerfed slightly, teams still just don't want to try and face that double silence. And Kestrel first pick, that's quite smart, because obviously it's a comfort pick, and Kestrel as weapon power especially is extremely strong this patch with the nerfs to healing.
Well, definitely. That is something that must agree with you. A lot of healers are not prioritized for 2.8 at least. And in fact, although there are changes made to potions and now replaced with the healing flask, you would think that healing becomes a priority in that early game. But I don't see quite a lot of Lyras or Graces being picked up. But for the side of Divas, we will be seeing the Black Feather going up against his Castro. I personally think Castro has got very good early game siege, especially if you're going for that weapon path and you're a great lane bully.
Yeah, I think the Black Feather is a smart pick, and I think that there has been quite a big change to potions because they've just been removed from the game. And a Sky ban, that was not expected at all. Sky, I suppose that could be Weapon Sky that they don't want to be played, because CP Sky is reasonably good but doesn't seem to be worthy of banning at all. Now, Question Jewel is interested in that ban he really likes Sky, and I think Black Feather's a really smart pick, because Black Feather's often second banned, especially if you want to pick someone like Celeste. We know Kestrel Celeste as a combo is extremely strong. And obviously they're going to ban the Catherine. Even though she got nerfed slightly, teams still just don't want to try and face that double silence. And Kestrel first pick, that's quite smart, because obviously it's a comfort pick, and Kestrel as weapon power especially is extremely strong this patch with the nerfs to healing.
Well, definitely. That is something that must agree with you. A lot of healers are not prioritized for 2.8 at least. And in fact, although there are changes made to potions and now replaced with the healing flask, you would think that healing becomes a priority in that early game. But I don't see quite a lot of Lyras or Graces being picked up. But for the side of Divas, we will be seeing the Black Feather going up against his Castro. I personally think Castro has got very good early game siege, especially if you're going for that weapon path and you're a great lane bully.
Yeah, I think the Black Feather is a smart pick, and I think that there has been quite a big change to potions because they've just been removed from the game. And a Sky ban, that was not expected at all. Sky, I suppose that could be Weapon Sky that they don't want to be played, because CP Sky is reasonably good but doesn't seem to be worthy of banning at all. Now, Question Jewel is interested in that ban he really likes Sky, And I think Black Feather's a really smart pick because Black Feather's often second banned, especially if you want to pick someone like Celeste. We know Kestrel Celeste as a combo is extremely strong, and I think they don't want to pick Celeste themselves, Divine Aurora, so they pick the Black Feather straight away to try and counter it. A good ban here, they could try and get rid of the captains. Catherine's off the fold, but I think it's smart for A-side here to not ban Catherine or Lance. Sorry, not ban Grace or Lance, and then they're guaranteed to get one. And so now it's which hero do they not want to play against? And it's really quite hard because there aren't that many. Maybe a CP Idris could be banned away because you don't want to go double CP with a CP Kestrel, but they're going to get rid of Celeste themselves. With Black Feather means they don't want to play it, so it's smart to ban it away.
Yep, I mean, Celeste, or rather the mages at this point in time, generally will be placed in that of lane. Really good poke in that early game, and when it comes late game, you have very good siege as well. So banning out Celeste and maybe picking up a Scar for yourself, probably pairing it up with a Grace for the heal, if not then Lance for those CCs, will definitely be beneficial to your team. We see a Lyra being picked up for the side of Divas. At this point in time, Lyra is still, very good because of the early game sustain that she provides, but in that late game, especially if there are no divers coming out from Impunity, then Lyra will almost be just stagnated, useless in terms of team fights. Granted, your Bright Bow will provide a lot of utilities coming into the late game, but all in all, I personally think at this point in time, I really favor the team coming, or rather the draft coming out from the side of Impunity. I'm not surprised at this point in time if they will go up for that Scarf, and they do pick up that Scarf.
Yeah, it's a good draft from Impunity. They've let through double heal. They could go Adagio or Grace now, and then that would be a very interesting composition to try and play against, even though the healers aren't quite as good. I still agree with you. I think Lance is really strong, despite Lyra's Bulwark kind of countering him, the Impale, and the double Githian wall to stop Black Feather from diving in will just be so much CC that you force Black Feather to use those ult charges very defensively just to dodge what Lance is bringing out. A Samuel pick, that's not a fantastic counter because he is quite good. Hello everybody, welcome back to the game. We are into the first game between Impunity and Divine Aurora. After those issues, we've now sorted it all out, and it looks like Impunity are going to go with a very aggressive rotation, probably going to go as 3 to the enemy mid-heal. Do you think this is going to work out for them, Ashuria?
Well, let's see. The first fight will be happening.
Hai is taking so much damage! The Dragon Blood contract from Quad d'Ivoire, and that is just ridiculous. Hai is just walking into the bush like, okay, la la la, I wonder if they're going to be here, and gets just deleted straight away.
There you go. That answers the question right there. Impunity, very, very aggressive in this early game. Definitely paid off for them, picking up an early 300 gold for, Blue City. That would, kind of help him out in that early game, just get his items a little tad faster as compared to that of Samuel. So, generally the Roma would do that. Yeah, that is the standard rotation for the Roma. Just, trail off into that of the center part of the jungle to try to put that scout trap, try to lay down the vision in that early game, but it didn't quite pay out for Highest right there. So awesome play coming up from Impunity, I must say. They did go with that very aggressive rotation, like we saw in 2.7 itself. And at this point in time, with that jungle, and then of course, jungle providing so much more experience, and on top of that, a lot more gold as well. Do you reckon that the Roma should continue staying in that lane to try to baby seat like we are seeing coming out from the side of Diva?
Yeah, I think putting the captains in lane, it's much safer because now Neoncy isn't going to be in trouble. Lyra's got the Iron Guard contract, obviously got the heal at level 2. No Bulwark, gone for the level 2 heal instead. And so that means it's a lot safer, but with Quad d'Ivoire getting ambient gold from the jungle, he is certainly going to get a fountain quicker. And that's nice and Impel going on to Highest. There's the Dragon Blood contract. Easy second blood for Impunity. It's like they do this every day with this exact comp. And Quad d'Ivoire waiting in the bush. 2 seconds for the Impale. Leonti's out of position. There's getting them all out of the goop. Not the smash, but the Impale. The prediction from Quad d'Ivoire. Dragon Blood contract. And the Scarf picks up the kill. Impunity playing fantastically for this first game.
I must say, they are putting a lot of pressure and just showing why they are the reigning champion for the previous season. Coming to this season, the first game, the debut, I must say, debut for this season at least, they are playing exceptionally well. And honestly, thinking about it and coming into the first game itself, the amount of pressure, it's very like that of Impunity. They must be already very, very impatient, with that long wait itself, and thus trying to end this game in a rather spectacular manner, in which we all love to see anyways, just quite a quick FYI for the viewers out there. We all enjoy this aggressive play coming up from Impunity. It just shows so much character in terms of who they are as players, and they are very, very confident players, I must say, and this is something that I've talked about a lot in the previous season as to how confident they are, and it's definitely paying off, when they won the Summer Championships coming into the autumn itself. They are again.
Yeah, it's 3v3 in lane. Samuel's going to get Githian walled into the wall. Easy kill for Luke Zadi. We said that Impunity have the late game, but they're clearly trying pressure early game. Minion Candy from Highest doesn't seem like it's doing too much. Maybe it will stop DefQ getting a couple of CS, but nope, he's going to get them both. Now Neoncy wants to clear this wave. That Goop is not on Turret Scarf. You could have done better there. And that tower's just going to be nice and healthy. And it looks like it could be a sentry rotation. 4 minutes in. I think Impunity want to try and go for the quickest sentry elimination ever. That's a new challenge that was put on. But no, they're going to go for the jungle instead and just back off towards their own jungle. And this is what Divine Aurora needs to do. Impunity make that rotation straight for the turret. DefQ's going to get the healing tree and try and go back up to a reasonable amount of health. The minions have gone, and Luxie's going to do a nice Spitfire on Spitfire. And the Dragon Blood contract was not applied, but it was popped. And now I think Impunity probably going to back off. Divine Aurora will just clear the way.
Yep, so much damage coming out from Blue City on that little yellow dragon, I must say. And honestly, the team comp, like we talked about before the game even started, is that the team comp coming out from Impunity allows them this aggression, allows them to put out so much damage because of the amount of crowd control that comes out from Lance being picked up for themselves. On top of that as well, a lot of early game pressure, but in quarter 4 though,
he's going to get the Dragon Ball contract onto Spitfire. Neoncy taking a lot of damage. Lovely to keep Neoncy inside that goop. Blue City's already level 6. No need for the just yet. And this will be a tier 1 turret for Impunity. They really are looking like a menacing team to play up against this season.
Definitely, I mean, the amount of damage and amount of CC Spitfire. Oh,
he's going to get a lovely sleep. Defq and Bluxy did manage to fall asleep, so if Spitfire had stayed alive through that, he would have maybe got a kill. But it's not going to quite work out because another lovely impale. Githian wall. Here's the Dragon's Breath. Yonsei, it will not be an ace even if he falls, and he will go down. Not quite to the Dragon's Breath, just barely able to stay alive. And Spitfire has no respawn, so Impunity with a collective about 4k gold, going to just go back and shop because that is pretty much their entire gold lead, so there's no reason to give that up by having not shopped. Spitfire just gets deleted. They need reflex blocks. Neonsea and Spitfire haven't got one yet, and they've been CC'd to death by Lance, and so they just need to pick up a reflex block as soon as possible, really.
And I must say, Quarterfall and this Lance are playing it a little differently than all the Lancers that I've seen, in a manner in which he holds his Githian wall back, finds a very good opportunity, and then lands them, although they are on cooldown. Generally, what we see on Lancers is that they try to chain as much as possible and impale into Githian wall, echo that into another Githian wall. But as for Quarterfall, he plays it differently. He holds it to its due time when there's an obstacle there so that he can land the stun. But Spitfire now will be walking into Quarterfall missing that impale.
Yeah, and the Githian wall does not connect. This could be a good time for Aurora. There's the Malice onto Bluxy, and there's another one onto Bluxy, taking a bit of damage, but he's taking a lot in return. And Impunity going to be happy. They got their tier 2 turret now. That was exactly what I was talking about. With a Kestrel and a Scarf, turrets just melt. And Divine Aurora want to get something. They don't want to go for the turrets. They're going to try and sneak a gold mine while all 3 members of Impunity are up. This is risky. Lance just knows they're on the gold mine because it was moving a little bit. And now Divine Aurora had a slight window of opportunity, but they've wasted it. There's nothing they're going to get, and they're now still 4k behind. 7 kills to 0. Divine Aurora need to make a play pretty soon, or I think the snowball's just going to continue rolling in favour of Impunity. Defq already with Swordblade and Tyrants can go instantly invisible. And that's smart. Showing back's interesting glimmer shot from Defq, but we'll ignore it.
Yep. Honestly, thinking about it, Divine Aurora, they had a small window of opportunity to take that gold mine, but honestly, thinking about it, they do not have the objective push coming out like that of Impunity. If Impunity use that window and actually goes for that impact.
The impale does land on Spitfire here. It's going to be the Dragon's Breath coming down. Sentry, lovely Oblivion from Samuel just pushing Bluxy away, but the Sentry doesn't know what to do, and I think he's going to die. Yep, 1 shot, 1 kill onto Highest. He does go down. That was unfortunate for Divine Aurora, and now Impunity going to get this gold mine easily. No chance of any contest, and it's just looking really good. They got the first Sentry. A little bit slow on that first Sentry elimination, but I'm sure they'll be just as happy with their 8 kills. Now Defq is going to try and 1v2 because his Lance isn't there, but no, he's going to stay in the bush. That's smart. Fortivar going to land an easy impale onto Neonsea. He's going to go for it. No, they're just going to back off and farm. That's interesting from Impunity. I was hoping for another fight. They just want to make sure that Defq gets as much damage as possible and makes it just maybe 3 shots onto Spitfire for the kill.
Yeah, but Quarterfall, though, in a very compromised position just now, right there, when he goes into the shop with all 3 members of Divine Aurora on the other brush, but all is well and dandy for Quarterfall right now. And at this point in time, looking so very strong, sitting at about 6,000 in lead of gold at least for the side of Impunity. They can really just push push everything they can, actually, not just the advantage of 1-shot 1 kill comes out.
Yeah, there's going to be the impale. Does land. Good block from Spitfire on the Githian wall. So he's. But now that block is on cooldown for another 40 seconds. Lyra still without a crucible. Whereas Quartervar has got 2 damage items, 2 completed items. Definitely taking a lot of poke from these empowered Malice and Verdicts. But I think Impunity, now that the Drifting Dark is down, they have their time to go in. Doesn't look like they want to. There's no need for them to fight. If they start off in a bad position, they can just rotate down, pick up an infusion on Defq, and then take a Crystal Sentry charge away. There's no need for Impunity to fight because they're already ahead in gold. They can just wait, and Defq's deciding that he does want to shot for an infusion. There we go. He's actually going to go for a reflex block instead, so that's quite smart up against Spitfire, because there's been one Oblivion did land, and so he probably wants to block that away. Going to be Black Feather could be out of position. Spitfire's not going to be spotted out. There's just a little bit of poke from both sides. No one really wants to go in, Luxuria.
Yep, and when you are saying that, Quarter 4 goes in with that Impale. Unfortunately, do miss that, but they will have a chance to go into the mid-Trian. Once again, Quarter 4 goes in with that Impale, and of course,
There's the Impale onto Heist, and there's the Glimmer. So much damage from Defq, 505 crit. Heist is going to pick up a metal jacket pretty soon, I'm sure. And now Defq is going to work towards probably maybe a bone sword. There's the War Chest going to go in very aggressive onto Spitfire. Impale does miss. Good boots from Spitfire to dodge that. Githian Wall was waited. He waited for the block. So smart from Quantifier. Here's the Dragon's Breath. Going to go down on Spitfire. Doesn't even care about the Oblivions. Going to get the kill. And this will probably be a tier 3 turret for Impunity. Leonti's going to try and do what he can. He's got the Serpent's Mask breaking point, so he will actually be able to defend the turret for now. Defq not going to get the basic attack onto that turret. And now Bluesty wants to get it. Still not quite. And Impunity are going to be forced to back off. Samuel's respawned already. And Defq just wants a bit of farm, wants a Crystal Sentry, and then they're going to go to shop. Actually, they're not going to go for the Sentry. They're just going to back off. And that will be annoying that they did not secure the tier 3 turret.
Yep. They did not, but they brought it down to, a basic attack away. So, honestly, it is still a win for them. The entirety of Divine Aurora at this point in time really do not have an answer for the aggression and the capitalism coming out from that of Impunity. And although Quarter 4 may be able to take this gold miner away from Divine Aurora,
it's very risky from Divine Aurora to try and take this. They are so slow at taking objectives. Defq and Bluesty got their backs together and are now back in time to steal this. There's the Impale, and the Githian Wall wasn't blocked. Very nicely, Dragon's Breath coming out from Scarf. Spitfire doing a lot of damage, and he's going to use that Oblivion to force Scarf back. Scarf that kills the gold mine with a basic attack, and now Neoncy's going to go in. One shot is going to be blocked. Neoncy taking a lot of damage. Can he get the stun? Defq not quite. Is standing in. 3 members are inside the active camo. But Defq is too far away without a one-shot, one kill. Now Impunity are forced to back off. They are all 3 members very low. Defq's going to put home, and I think this will probably be a sentry. No, Divine Aurora not doing anything with their good team fight. They're just going to port home Luxuria because of the turret.
Yep, honestly, the side of Divine Aurora, as long as they can sustain the burst coming out from Impunity, they can definitely come out on top of a lot of team fights. Firstly, they have got that Samuel, which is a king of sustain with that heroic perk of his, and on top of that they have got a Lyra with that Imperial Sigil that can help them in an extended long team fight, but they're not utilizing fully the amount of sustain they have as compared to the side of Impunity. What Impunity have is the amount of burst, right? They can put out a lot of damage in a short amount of time. So as long it is just similar to that of Baron. When Baron was meta at this point in time, at that point in time, Baron, honestly, as long as it's out-sustain Baron, you can do sustained damage onto Baron, and you win the team fights. Very similar, positioning or rather team fights coming out right now, as long as the side of Diva can just out-sustain.
As the Impale Githian Wall was blocked and Oblivion was used, didn't quite connect on any of the members of Impunity. Their tradition knocked very aggressive from Spitfire. He wants to go in, wants to fight. Bluesty taking more poke than he is giving out. This could be a good time for Divine Aurora, but now the Drifting Duck is down. There's the Impale, Githian Wall, lovely Crucible from Highest, and Dragon's Breath will shoot. Fountain by Highest, try and keep yourself alive, isn't quite enough. War Tread's good, one shot, one kill, and the Impale, not quite needed because Bluesty managed to secure the kill. And as you said, the turret is 1 basic from death, easy secure for that from Kestrel. And this will probably be a sentry and just wait for another fight from Impunity. Goldmine might be worth taking, yeah, it's about 250 gold at this point, and then they're just going to wait for another fight and then secure the Kraken. They're already 10k gold ahead. Some call that the point of no return, and it's going to be a bad team fight from Impunity for Divine Aurora to turn this around, and it can happen if they get a little bit of defense, tank up, and out-sustain them, as you said.
Yeah, but we saw earlier on the amount of poke Spitfire can put out is just so much more as compared to Blue City. I must say, the credits will go over to that of Quarter 4, able to land those impales and very crucial Githian Walls. Granted, Haas is doing her bestest or his bestest as a Lyra to try to block out all of those Githian Wall coming out from Quarter 4, but all in all, the amount of burst, as long as Quarter 4 can just be up front, soak up damage, there is really nothing much Diva can do. One shot, one kill, lands on Neoncy.
Yeah, Impale does miss, so that's some free damage, and so did Inexplicably is the front line, and they're going to back off This is Impunity. They don't fight unless they're in a good position. There's the Bonesaw completed from DefQ. Fully built apart from boots. He's going to be infused for level 12. And now Impunity are happy to fight if they want to. Nice 500 damage onto Lyra. There is the engage. They haven't got a sentry. And that's a good crucible onto the Oblivion. Spitfire is kiting back extremely well. But there's the Arcane Passion from Lyra, giving Impunity a free pass onto Neonsea. And now Spitfire is going to try and run away. Impel doesn't quite land. Neonsea's trying to dodge. But he walks into both the Glimmer shots. And Spitfire is running towards Kraken. That's not where he wants to go. I suppose he's trying to stop Impunity just from winning. But I think, given where Spitfire has gone, he's going to pick up a quick infusion. He's looking to 1v2. Can he do it? There's going to be that little bit of health, a little bit of energy taken back. He's walking towards the enemy Crystal Sentry, though. That's not a good place to be. DefQ with a couple of Glimmer shots gets the ace. This will be a free Kraken for Impunity.
That was so close. I mean, for Spitfire at least to score 1v2, but honestly, I don't think that was that's in his head at this point in time. He probably just wanted to just stall that ace away from Impunity, but honestly, at this point in time in this game, like you say, some say it is a point of no return, and even if you do try your best to stall that ace, with one hand down on Tiva, Impunity can easily just take the Kraken anyways. So Quatavo at this point in time just marching into the base of Divine Aurora, and honestly I don't see a thing that Divine Aurora can do at this point in time at least to try to stop the rain of damage coming out from the side of Impunity.
Looks like we're going to find out. Smart for Impunity to push themselves so that Divine Aurora didn't get free damage on Kraken. Hell, not blocked. Neonsea towards the base. Nice Crucible onto the Oblivion from Samuel. DefQ's just on the back line doing damage onto the turret. Kraken is still full health. Looks like Divine Aurora have to fight or else they're going to lose this game. And lovely Impel and a Gideon Wall was blocked. One shot, one kill onto Neonsea. Finishes the kill. 700 on that one shot. And now Spitfire, they're splitting dark. But I don't think it's going to be enough. DefQ wants to get a kill. Will he be able to do it? Basic attacks for the win. And that will be game 1 going to Impunity.
Ha! What spectacular match. Awesome, perfect match coming out for the side of Impunity. The first game, I mean, what a game to start out and open the week. Impunity really showing who is boss and why, you know, they are the reigning champions of the autumn or rather summer season as we are into the autumn right now.